Hey, in this episode, we're going to revisit the Raven R10 crossbow after using it 3 to 4 years down the road. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Tim and Joel,
Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses,
a podcast about the outdoors, hunting,
and being a steward of the land. Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses. Tim, this is our most popular video that we've got out there on our channel. So we thought with the time of year, it's February, off season, that we would come back and revisit this Raven R10 crossbow. 3 to 4 years after the fact of using it, and almost 3 years after the first episode came out.
Yeah, I think we have closing in on 30,000 views on that episode. I think we've gotten 150-ish subscribers off of just that episode alone.
And not only that, but we got a lot of comments, suggestions and just people loving it. Actually, I don't think we got any haters on it, but a lot of people just stressing how much they like the crossbow too. But there's been a couple key learnings I think we took away from the comments and with the crossbow. So we wanted to share that with our audience today and also revisit some of the cons that we talked about in the original video. By the way, we'll put the link to the original video right up here, or episode. And then at the end of this episode, we'll also put a link there that you can just click on that and go back to the original episode. But should we dig into this?
Let's do it.
All right. So, let's start with the cons. We really had 3 to 4 bigger cons. It was hard. It was hard to come up with because we both love this thing so much. But the first one was just kind of quiver placement, handle placement, and then getting them in and out safely without, putting your hands and fingers in danger.
Yeah, and I think one of the comments we got from one of our listeners or viewers is they take it completely off when they go up into the tree. And, I guess it was a paradigm shift for me. I never really thought about it. And I'll say I completely take it off every time I go up into the tree.
And I have incorporated that into mine too. It's just, again, revisiting that from the first episode. The quiver is set horizontally. It's in parallel to the main frame of the crossbow here. So it's a little bit awkward. You can see, right or left-handed, you want to have it on the opposite side. So it's a little bit in the way. And then more importantly, just getting this darn thing on and off is not the easiest thing without putting your hand in this danger zone when it's drawn back.
Yeah.
So to our knowledge, this is still the same system that Raven's using on their crossbows now, but it seems like there's more options. 10-point actually puts a place in their stock for the crank. I'm not sure on some other brands, but got to be a better way.
Got to be a better way. This crossbow, its price has been relatively flat since we had it 4 years ago. And I think today you can buy this bow for $1,350, depending on where you're looking at. And the price to value ratio is for what we get and how it performs, I think it's really good.
Yeah, that's a lot of money, but there's a lot of and honestly, this is probably below average price for crossbows out there. The market on crossbows has gone crazy.
It has.
The prices that they're charging for some of the high-tech stuff.
One of their newer models, I think it's the R29, which I think for 2024 was won some awards. It's nearly double the price on this. And if you're looking for like I said, price to value, this is such a great bow.
Yeah, excellent. All right, so the next con was really, we kind of dealt with 2 cons there with the crank and quiver placement, and then using them and getting them attached and detached. But probably the biggest one we talked about and got feedback on was the cocking. Decocking.
Decocking.
Yeah, cocking and decocking. It's really a reverse process. So again, easy to do because you're pulling about 12 to 15 pounds when you're cranking this up. But man, there's, again, a lot of stress on these strings. They're short. There's a lot of power there. You can tell when you're cranking it that this thing is really really compacting all that power, ready to release it. So some of the best feedback we got on that was really consistent with our relationship with it was, hey, if you go slow and you practice it and you, to me, I put the bow down and then I put my chest on it to put weight on it and then hold the button in and then to release the ratchet, then use the cam to unwind it. Gives me a lot more stability when I'm doing that.
And we'll demonstrate that in a video here shortly. The thing I do is something very similar, Joel, is I'll take the arrow out and I will put the tip of my bow on my boot so that I'm not putting it into the ground. And then I'll decock it. Just like you said, there's a little button back here you push in to basically unlock the mechanism. And what I'll do is if I go slow, I don't have any problems. If I get in a hurry, that's when I find I've had it get away from me on one occasion. Fortunately, it did not hit my scope because the clearance on that scope to this crank is pretty narrow. And if it gets to wobble a little bit, you could probably bust your scope.
And mine has a nick in it from the same thing. It got away from my wife when she was using it and hit the scope on this side and nicked it up and knocked the cap off actually. So just be careful on that when you're decocking it. And again, I guess again, Occam's razor is what's the simple solution? Nothing says you can't still shoot your bolt into a target arrow into the target to release this at the end of the hunt.
Sure.
So
it's become kind of a non-event for me. I've done it so many times now and I know it works. I don't have any issues with it.
And we talked off camera that I'm just reaching that stage. I think this year hunting with the third year that I really don't think about it anymore. I'm still careful when I do it, but it's not that uncomfortable feeling that you get when you're doing something you're on the edge, So yeah. You do get used to it. Mm-hmm. You do get used to it. Anything else on the decocking piece, which is, pretty big deal with this bow? All bows that have the decocking.
I think similar to the Quiver, unlocking and locking it into place. It's a bit clunky, but again, hey, I manage. And is it a showstopper for me from buying this bow? No, it's just a kind of a slight annoyance.
Yeah, and again, I would just throw it out there again as repeating myself. You can always shoot your bolt in the target at the end of the day, and you achieve the same goal.
Yep.
Yeah. So, other key learnings. I mean, I know there's one big key learning that we got in a comment about a piece on the bow here that we had never looked at or considered before. But other key learnings, Tim, that we took away from this?
So, you and I talked about the nocks.
Yep.
Right? The nocks, the lighted nocks from Raven. And even with the arrow puller, it's still really, if you were to ask me what's my most annoying thing with this bow, it's those lighted nocks. And after you shoot that arrow, that light comes on and trying to get it to shut off as you sit there and try to wiggle it out. And I've gone online and seen other solutions, but it's tough.
Let's talk about the arrow rest.
Yeah. So the Raven 10 or the R10 comes with an arrow rest right here, and we'll show you a close up. It has two Teflon balls or wheels, if you will, that the arrow rests on in order to minimize the friction, because really the arrow only has those two Teflon wheels and the knock holder, and that's really all that arrow is riding on. Well, over time, these Teflon balls, depending on wheels, depending on how much you shoot, they wear flat spots into them. And one of the viewers actually left us a comment, and I'll be honest with you, I never, and I should have, because that's just something that in our life time. That's kind of maintenance that we would pay attention to, and I did not. And when I went and looked at it, he was exactly right. Those things probably every season or every 2 seasons, depending on how much you shoot, need to be replaced. Now, Raven's come out with a new option, slightly more expensive. It's $80 to replace this one with the Teflon wheels. And they now have a stainless ball bearing that I think is a better solution for another $20 more. And that's the route. In fact, as we prepared for this episode, I just ordered a set. So that's a key learning.
Sounds like another episode.
Yeah, we got some maintenance stuff we're going to talk about.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on the scope?
I like the scope. I like. There's several things I like about the scope. One is I think the eye relief on it's pretty good, and I really like the lighted portion of the scope because honestly, 80% of my shots are either twilight, in the morning before it's just quite light, or usually at night when it gets pretty dark. And this season, for sure, there was multiple times where I had a deer in front of me that if I didn't have that lit up, I could not see the black sights, crosshairs to shoot the deer. So I think that's a key thing. And I think it's just accurate. When I'm practicing and shooting this thing, it consistently shoots over and over again out to 40 yards, basically the same hole.
Yeah, and I think for most of us, we were talking about how many deer we've shot over the years. I think between us cumulatively, we're closing in on 10 deer, roughly. I also shoot anywhere from that 20 to 35 yard range. I know this is capable to 75, 80 yards, but the capability for me, this thing outshoots my capability, which is my eyes, right? So I think this scope is really good for me. Now, if you really want to stretch the capability of this weapon, I think then you're looking at something like a Burris Oracle or something like that. You're going to spend quite a bit more money to extract out the performance of this crossbow.
I agree. And I've seen a lot worse scopes out there on crossbows than I have better scopes than this.
Yep.
Honestly, it's a good scope.
They recommend, I've had really great customer service. And I think if you go out, there's some people that they've not had the service I've had. I had a nick in one of my cams. They covered it completely under warranty, and that was 3 years. So I was super happy with that. We're going to talk some more stuff about maintenance, so I don't want to get too much into other things. The ratings. When we see ratings on this, if you go out, I think on Raven this is a 4.6 rating. Outdoor Life had a very high rating on this. I'd buy this thing again.
That's a solid crossbow. I would recommend it, and I would probably buy another one, to be honest with you.
Yeah. We have a friend of ours who bought a R29. Again, I'm sure it's an awesome crossbow, but you're getting 50 feet per second less on your R10. And this thing will more than do the job.
Yeah, proven.
Yeah. Raven on their website has step-by-step videos on how to set it up, on how to operate, maintenance, all small little videos. That's some of the best out there.
Cocking, decocking, maintenance, you name it, right?
Yep.
Everything you need. But
so, yeah, I think for a bow that was put out there in 2019 and here we are in 2025, would you still buy this today? I think the answer is resounding yes.
Yeah, I honestly think they changed the industry I know they did because everyone kind of followed them with the decocking. They were kind of the first to come out with the decocking, and then this, like I said, the arrow rest, not the arrow not laying on the rail, and just being on the arrow rest up front and the trigger, revolutionized the crossbow industry. Yep. So, cool.
All right, you got anything else?
No, I think thanks for joining us. And, please, if you have any questions or comments, put them down below. We really appreciate those. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button so you get notified of new, there's no obligation, and you get notified of new episodes that come out. But until next time, be safe, have fun, and get outdoors.
Desperado, sitting in a old Monte Carlo, a man whose heart is hollow.